much. As you know, my name is Nicole Solas, and I did come all the way here from Rhode Island to tell you what happened to me when my state does not have academic transparency. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I enrolled my daughter in kindergarten this past spring, and I wanted to know what my daughter was learning. When I called the school and asked, they said that they don't teach, they don't call children boys and girls when I asked whether they taught gender theory. They said that they refrained from using gender terminology in the classroom and that they embed the values of gender identity into the classroom at every grade at an age-appropriate level. When I asked about critical race theory, they said that they teach 5-year-olds on the first Thanksgiving this ridiculous question where they say, what could have been done differently on the first Thanksgiving? When I asked more questions, they wouldn't answer me and they stonewalled me. They told me to submit public records requests. This was the only way I could get my questions answered. And when I did submit those public records requests, and when they did know that I had a lot of questions, my own school district turned around, put my name on the agenda of a public school board meeting, and publicly threatened to sue me for submitting the public records request that they told me to submit. They had a 5-hour school board meeting where they publicly bullied, harassed me, they called me racist, they let other people attack me in public comment. They debated openly my moral character and my political motivations, and they had never met me before, and this was my first school board meeting that I had ever been to in my life. They even hired a PR firm to publicly defame me in the national media. It's now 8 months later. I still don't know what the current curriculum is. I'm still in, oh, sorry, I left out a really important part. 2 months after my school board publicly threatened to sue me, the teachers union then did sue me. They're suing me because they don't want information coming out about my public records request that I had requested and that the school told me to request. So now it's 8 months later. I still don't have the current curriculum. I still don't have answers to my questions. I'm still in litigation, and my kindergartner is now in private school. What they did to me was government abuse of power, just because I wanted to know what was being taught. And no parent should be afraid that they're going to be publicly attacked and sued just to know what their kids are learning in school. So here is the bottom line and what I've learned, and that is that public records requests don't work. Parents cannot afford to buy the information that their school wants to sell them, and if they're me, they get sued just for asking for that information. But here's the other important part. Public records requests don't work for schools either. The schools are spending money just to respond to these public records requests. My school spent $20,000 responding to 300 public records requests just to give estimates. There's a mom in this audience who sent almost 700 public records requests to her school district. How much is that going to cost? And that's just for the cost of providing estimates. This isn't for the cost of compiling, redacting, gathering information, forwarding for further legal review, responding to lawsuits arising out of the public records request process. It's not fair to schools and it's not fair to parents. This is a never-ending hamster wheel benefiting only one party, and that's the lawyers that are giving out these estimates to parents that can't afford them, and then they never get that information. This is a Kafkaesque bureaucratic problem with a really easy legislative solution: academic transparency. You can vindicate the rights, the absolute rights of parents to know what their kids are being taught by passing this bill, but you can also protect public school from squandering their education dollars on this never-ending cycle of getting public records requests and handing out estimates, and it's just this cycle of wash, rinse, repeat. Please pass this bill. If not for parents, pass this bill for public school, and you can save them from themselves. We need our education dollars for our students. We don't need it to be squandered on this petulant standoff with parents who just want to know what their kids are learning in school.
Thank you. I have a question. So I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. So your school district said when all you wanted to know was what's the curriculum that your kid's being taught, to put a public records request before you can see that? I just want to make sure that I got that right.
Yeah, so I had to submit a public records request just for the curriculum, and in fact, when I submitted that, they gave me old, outdated curriculum that's no longer used or taught, and I had to file a complaint with the Attorney General alleging that they gave me non-responsive documents. That was 8 months ago. I still don't have a response from the Attorney General, and their argument is actually, well, this is Nicole's fault because she didn't request current curriculum. So these are the games they play with these public records requests, and our children's education is not a game. We just want to know what's being taught, and we're all parents. We're not all lawyers. I happen to be a lawyer. I don't practice anymore. I stay home, but parents don't have the skills that a lawyer parent has just to know what their kids are learning. You shouldn't have to be fighting with these complaints and these public records requests. It's exhausting.
Members, any questions? Senator Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I don't have a question, but I do want to applaud you for having the backbone to stand up against that, and to just let you know that we've got plenty of jobs down here, houses you can buy. It's heartbreaking to hear what you're facing, and what your kids and the kids of that state are going through. So again, kudos. If we don't have people willing to stand up, and there's a price that you're paying, that's obvious. You paid a price just to come to Arizona, but the price you're paying, I appreciate that. We need more people across our country that will stand up for what's right, and resist when we have to. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, any questions? Senator Bartow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nicole, you've given voice to so many parents across the country about this problem. I applaud you as well. Thank you for coming. I do wonder, did you start with a public records request, or did you?
No, this started with a phone call to my principal of my school, and when I had more questions that they didn't like, that's when they told me to submit public records requests. I also emailed them. They wouldn't respond to my emails, and they were really clear that public records requests were the only way that they would answer my questions. And they were working with me with a lot of requests. They would say, oh, you requested this. Did you mean that? And then one day I just woke up to find my name on their agenda of their school board meeting saying that they were going to discuss suing Nicole Solas for submitting over 160 public records requests. So it was really an attack on me, and I think it was a message that they wanted to send to other parents that if you want transparency, or if you even just want to know what your kindergartner is learning in school, that they'll retaliate against you and punish you for asking for that transparency. So that's why I think it's really important that we have legislation that will mandate schools to be transparent, because parents are going to be afraid to ask after what happened to me. And I'm here to say, don't be afraid, fight back, and there are things we can do to solve this problem.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Yes, Senator Marsh.
I was just wondering if in Rhode Island you have a parent bill of rights like we do here, because we have a pretty robust parental bill of rights, and I'm just wondering what the correlation might be. Like, I'm not sure I'm seeing the connection between Rhode Island and what's going on in Arizona, but
Yeah, well, the Goldwater Institute is representing me in this lawsuit that the teachers union brought against me for these public records requests. I don't think we have a parent bill of rights, but I'm certainly going to bring it back to Rhode Island, this idea, and see if we can get something like that going. Instead of a parent bill of rights, we certainly have a lot of rights and laws for teachers unions that tend to trample on the rights of parents. So Rhode Island is, you're right, quite different from Arizona.